Yeah. Great left arm spinner of the 1970s. Wonderful, wonderful action. Bit of a grouchy fella in his later years, Bishon Singh Bedi. He's had some very strong and harsh words, I think, to say about the likes of Mutaya Muralidharan.
Did he?
He's a bit of a purist, shall we say.
Was he? Did he sort of? Was he involved with the media sort of subsequently, maybe, or was that just interviews sort of thing? Or
a bit of all sorts, yeah. Usually can be. I think in journalist terms, he gives good copy.
Okay.
Bishon Singh Bedi.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
You look at replays of his action, and there's absolute perfection.
It was lovely, yeah.
So we're going to have a change of bowling at this end. Saika Short is out of the attack, replaced by. Thank you. As Navdeep Saini comes back into the attack. 3 wickets he's taken, bowled extremely well. The Delhi fast bowler dismissed KS Bharat, Shubman Gill, and Ravindra Jadeja. KS Bharat caught off a top-edged pull, the latest of those. Shubman Gill caught behind, and Ravindra Jadeja caught a slip off a real beauty for a duck. Bowling now to Cheteshwar Pujara, who turns this off his hips. A real bobble as though it hit a hidden trampoline out there. Not that it would have mattered, because long leg was quite wide, and that is a very easy for Cheteshwar Pujara. All of his runs on the leg side so far today. 11 he is of 28 deliveries. The slightest stray in line when you're this quick means that it's easy enough for a good batter to put you away. You've got 2 slips, backward point, cover, mid-off, mid-on, mid-wicket, deep square leg and long leg. So Saini being encouraged to target Pujara's stumps. Does get bowled a reasonably high amount for a batter of his class and his defensive ability. Those sort of low hands and not really getting at the ball. Potential reasons for that as Saini's in to Pujara. This is back of a length outside off stump. Good scoring area for Pujara. His first run on the offside today as he pushes a single to cover off the back foot for a single. Pujara wandering around to tamp down a spot. Virat Kohli retaking his guard. Middle stump guard, I think, for Virat Kohli to Navdeep Saini. Teammates for a long time. Kohli was his captain at RCB for some years. Navdeep Saini before Navdeep Saini moved on to the Rajasthan Royals. So, a bit of a hold-up. Well, that's what the hold-up was for. They were trying to get the attention of the deep square leg fielder to tell him to come in. I think he was having a bit of chat with the crowd. Is that Everson?
Yeah, I think so.
Deep square leg.
Indicating that somebody, yeah, could have been work, yeah.
As Saini comes into Virat Kohli.
Was it?
Pushes to mid-on.
It's
Roman. No, it's Roman Walker,
yeah,
sorry.
That's why he loves a chat, doesn't he?
Well, he's become a bit of a celebrity. He was on Sky Sports News this morning, Roman Walker, talking about his fifer and his runs and batting with Rishabh Pant and all of that. Yes, he's come up now to have a chat with the square leg umpire. How to Win Friends and Influence People by Roman Walker. Square leg region is open. He's got to concentrate now, Roman, on the ball that's being delivered by Saini to Kohli, who defends to Saika Short at backward point, and there is no run.
You have to say that Kohli looks in pretty good order.
Over this run of nearly 3 years without an international 100, he has often, particularly in Test cricket, looked absolutely flawless until he's got out.
Yes.
Think back to his 70-odd in the first innings at Adelaide on this recent ish tour of Australia. One of his innings in the World Test Championship final, a couple in England. Faces up now to Saini. Guides this with the open face past second slip. Good slide by Louis Kimber. Gets up and throws, but they'll come through for 2 very comfortably. Good athletic movement for a big man, Louis Kimber. Slid into the ball, transferred it from one hand to the other, got up and threw with his right hand. Sam Wood, the Leicestershire Academy player at mid-off, tall figure. There's a sort of slope in height down from mid-off through Saini the bowler down to Nagarkoti polishing his the Red Duke on the back of his trousers at mid-on. In comes Saini, tuba grip on his left arm, short sleeve sweater on. That's on the pads of Virat Kohli. He'll be a bit annoyed with himself that he didn't put that away past Roman Walker, who then underarms the ball in from mid-wicket to Wood. It's the end of the over. Tight one from Saini. Not quite as venomous as previously, but he has bowled extremely well. India 230 for 6. I wonder if we're going to see a change at the other end.
I was going to say, it looks like a helmet, or are we going to see a bit of spin from the... Yes, we are. Swap ends.
Saika is going to get a go from the other end.
Good, because I was rather enjoying his bowling from this pavilion end, so I'm quite happy to see a little bit more of him.
It's very hard to tell exactly how tall or short Sam Evans is, because Saika is a very tall man, but there is a significant height difference between the two. Sam Evans comes up to Saika Shaw's chest.
Marks his run up foot at a time, literally. No, not a pace, a foot at a time, so heel to toe, so to speak, when he's marking his run up.
Say 6 or 7 paces. I mean, he's got
not much more than that.
He's got quite long strides.
Going to see if he can find a little bit more grip, perhaps from the Bennett end. I think he may search in vain, but in he goes around the wicket. Down the track goes Pujara, but then defends, having gotten fairly close to the pitch of the ball. Blocks it out into the onside. Just the slip now. No other close catches, obviously, other than the wicket-keeper. Kishore just adjusts his field very slightly. Does have a long on, and this time he is close to the boundary edge. In goes Kishore, bowls, and Pujara just waits in his crease for that one. Stands up tall, strokes it back. But he would be hitting against the
I think
wind.
That's partly why, because, I mean, Pujara doesn't tend to try and hit down the ground for 6 that often.
Shaw is in, waiting for it, stretching forward, and then adjusting is Pujara, playing with an angled bat into the offside. Might just have been slightly done in the flight there.
A little bit of straightening. I wouldn't say turn, but straightening.
Spins the ball in his left hand, grips it, runs in and bowls. Again, Pujara is down the track, looking to get to the pitch of the ball, and again, having done so, he's blocking it out into the offside.
He's trying to get forward to Saika Shaw at every opportunity, but a couple of times now, Saika Shaw's just got a little bit of dip, and Pujara's had to defend with his hands. Might be tempted to get a bat pad in on the offside.
Goes and bowls outside off stump, leans forward, steps forward, leans forward, Pujara, and then having let it go through into the gloves of Bates, sort of gestures at Kishore, perhaps or at himself for not playing it. Just raised his right hand. Curious gesture. Saika Shah is in and bowls down the leg side this time, worked into the onside. He should be cross with himself a bit there, Pujara. Huge gap to push the ball into for a single. Managed to pick out Will Davis, still wearing Sam Bates' sweater, now at mid-wicket. No runs are taken. End of the over, 230 for 6. 9th over for Saika Shah, none for 38. He's bowled a little bit better than those figures might suggest, I would argue.
Yeah, he's probably only been hit for a handful of scoring strokes, but as particularly with that short leg side boundary, they've all been 4s that when he was bowling from this the pavilion end. Nabanitha Bose is watching us from Ayrshire in Scotland. Great commentary. Thank you guys. Delighted to have you with us. You can get in touch with us on Twitter. So you have to do that at the end of this delivery from Navdeep Saini to Virat Kohli, who knew inside edges past the stumps. He was trying to get that square drive away, that shot that he loves so much. Chopped down on it, and it scoots past the wicketkeeper Sam Bates for 4.
It was quite a long way from his off stump. He wasn't really in danger of chopping on, but gestured into, and does it again, gestures into the offside. That's where
he's aiming
how I should have hit it.
That to the right hand of backward point. Said he got it to the right hand of long leg. Mr. 43.
It is one of the bigger playing areas in the country. The Upton Steel.
It was a big part of how Hampshire and the Southern Brave have done well in T20 cricket. Ball spinners with those big boundaries. They try and make them as big as possible for that reason. Like Liam Dawson and Mason Crane. As Saini is in to Cheteshwar Pujara, who is just pushing this to backward point, and there is no run. Yes, I was going to tell you how you can get in touch with us. I'm at Knuckle M Pandey, NAKULMPANDE on Twitter. Richard Ray, Leicestershire's regular commentator, next to me, he's on Fox's Cricket 22. You can also get in touch with the club at LECCC, L-I-L-E, or rather ICSCCC. You use the hashtag LEIVIND to get in touch with us, or you can do so on the Leicestershire app. Saini is into Cheteshwar Pujara, stretching forward, and that again skids through low and is well taken by Bates behind the stumps, who's done very well, I think, today, off the spin bowlers and the seamers alike. They did well to be alert to the run-out that Vikai Kelly effected to get rid of Shreyas Iyer when he was batting very well. A push to short leg, who grasped it with both hands and recognised the opportunity and gunned it in from short range to Bates, who whipped the bails off Shreyas Iyer. I think was batting outside of his crease to begin with and didn't get back. Last ball of the over from Saini to Pujara is defended into the offside. There is no run. Pujara on 12, Kohli on 44, India 235 for 6.
The ball, as far as I remember, hasn't been changed in this innings so far.
Roman Walker was telling me this morning, it's sort of been our mole in the Leicestershire dressing room, Roman, which is just next to us, that the ball had gone a bit soft. He was telling me at lunch, in fact, that the ball had gone a bit soft.
That's kind of par for the course with these balls, isn't it? But it has stayed spherical, probably to the bowling side's irritation. 60 overs have been bowled with it anyway, so 20 potentially left. Sikandar doesn't really bowl a loosener. It's kind of a hopeful sort of rehearsal of his action. And as at the other end yesterday, the Bennett end, now at the pavilion end, the ground staff, or member of the ground staff, coming out to just to tamp down the ground around the bowlers' footmarks. If you watching with interest as he does so, a lot of teapots being formed out there. Bates and umpire Harris standing there with their hands on hips. Kimber comes in to advise. Everybody's watching carefully.
Saini as well.
Evans is going to come along and have a look now. They're all very interested. As
Roman Walker in there as well. It's the biggest audience this particular member of the ground staff I think has ever had for his tamping work. Almost the entire team were around him.
His work is now done. He gets a pat on the back for it from Sam Evans.
Like all ground staff all round the world, he's wearing shorts in all forms of weather.
And he's just going to do a spot at the other end as well. Sai Kishore will be bowling shortly, the Bennett end. but I wouldn't imagine he has too many issues with moving. He's gentle on his feet.
Kamlesh Nagarkoti appears to be the tamping supervisor. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, enough.
Yes. He definitely did have a problem, Kamlesh Nagarkoti. He managed to stop in somehow jarringly worrying fashion, in mid-action almost, mid-delivery stride, when he felt his foot slip slightly. Kishore is in and bowls. Back goes Virat Kohli, suspiciously, carefully playing the ball back down the pitch. Trusting his eye, really, and the fact that there wouldn't be too much turn. Might have got forward otherwise to that one. Kishore is in and bowls, gives it a little bit of air this time. Fuller, driven by Virat Kohli through the vacant mid-off area down to Sekande at long off, who, having shaped to throw it over arm in, ends up underarming it to Sam Evans. And then following it in, rather, coming in about halfway, because Pujara, 12 off 39, is going to be on strike as Kishore is in forward, or moving forward, using his feet, is Teteshwar Pujara, turning it out into the onside. He's done that on numerous occasions. I'm not sure he's scored any, managed to work it into any gaps as yet. He's used his feet, but as a defensive weapon, so to speak. And at that time, he does manage to clip it away through the onside, the gap at mid-wicket. Sam Wood is out there in the wide open empty acres, at least 2 or 3 of them of the Grace Road site, of the 16-acre Grace Road site, unoccupied other than for Wood over there.
He's about 60 yards away from the nearest fellow fielder.
Kishore is in. Forward goes Kohli, pushing it out into the offside. Evans, having run across in front of Nagarkoti, doesn't manage to pick it up cleanly, and Nagarkoti sort of looks at him. What are you doing? And then there's a certain amount of amusement on both sides as Evans eventually picks it up. Kishore is in, brings Kohli forward, stretching forward, playing with a slightly angled bat, pushing it out into the offside. Evans runs in and picks up cleanly on this occasion. End of the over, 45. Virat Kohli, 13. Cheteshwar Pujara, clearly very determined to spend some time at the crease after failing to do so, or very little time in the first innings. 2-3-7 for 6. The partnership now has extended to 34.
I'd love to see a close-up of Sai Kishore's release, just to see the angle of the seam, to see if it's... the bowlers who get a lot of overspin tend to like the seam at sort of 45 degrees, to the degree of travel. You can get it up and down. Graham Swan, and then sort of Jack Leach more 90 degrees, but more sort of side spin and flatter. Love to see a little close-up of that, see what he does with it. Saini is in from the pavilion end. Pujara pushes to cover. There is no run. It's very impressive. Michael Bracewell, the New Zealand off-spinner at Trent Bridge on debut. Only been bowling off-spin for 2 years properly, but can change the angle of his seam at will. Very, very, very good indeed. Gives it a decent, aggressive lower-order batter as well.
I've seen many Mexican waves at the Upton Steel County ground, and it's not really that sort of ground. Too many gaps.
There's not a lot of architectural uniformity around this ground. Definitely a ground, not a stadium, back of a length, and turned off the rib cage by Pujara into the leg side for a single.
Yeah, there's not a lot of architectural merit either, really. Probably the only elegant building is the manual scoreboard building that was constructed to house the clock. The clock came first, believe it or not. It was offered to the club. It was made by a local clockmaker, and then the order was cancelled.
Just on the off chance.
I've got it. Yeah, well, no, it was ordered, and then the order was cancelled, having made it. So whether they were actually paid for it by the original order, I don't know. But they said, well, we've got this 5-foot clock if you're interested. So Leicestershire constructed a building on which to house it.
It is quite a nice building. To be fair, I think the structure at the Bennett end is quite nice. The hospitality area. This is keeps a little bit low from saying he skids onto the middle of the bat of Virat Kohli. He did get the middle onto it, but it's blocked back to the bowler hurriedly. Yeah, those sort of pillar pillar things. It looks like it fits at a cricket ground.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. Yes, I'm not displeased by, for example, the new rugby stand at Headingley, or whatever they're calling it these days. I don't mind it at all. It's very, as I say, it's unadventurous in a way, but it fits, it works, unlike the appalling excuse for what has become the pavilion. That astonishing building at Headingley. It was a university. It was built by the university.
That sort of angular
with
green-blue glass thing.
Exactly, yeah.
Looks like it would fit at Canary Wharf. Full delivery and driven by Virat Kohli to cover. There is no run. Saini plays his domestic cricket for Delhi, the Firozshah Kotla, as was now renamed for a deceased politician. Has two very distinct stands at the straighter ends. It has these three-tiered sort of zigzag stands. It looks like a sort of multi-story car park. Very tall, towering things.
1878 cricket was first played here.
Saini in to Virat Kohli, also a Delhi boy who drives this beautifully into the covers, and that would have stung the hand of Sam Evans, who gets up well, having parried it, and throws at the stumps at the non-strikers, and I think Kohli was in pretty comfortably. The field is sprawled all over the place as Evans gets up, and Everson at mid-wicket gets up, having backed that up. All action for a single.
Saini admiringly applauded Evans' efforts there, having stopped the run, then almost affected a run out.
It was a very good shot. It was a very good stop, using all of his limited in length frame. Very well. And the shorter guys are very spring-heeled. Last ball of the over from Saini to Pujara's down the leg side, shoulders, arms. Lets it go through to the keeper. There is no run. A couple of spots of rain appearing on our windows, but nothing more than that. Simarjit Singh is coming on with a jumper or a new pair of gloves, I think, for Cheteshwar Pujara. The subfielder. Lots of Delhi out there with Simarjit Singh and Navdeep Saini and Virat Kohli. Pujara Sarashtra takes the gloves, and that's the end of the over. 239 for 6.
Yeah. Dark shower cloud right overhead at the moment, with a little bit of a wind underneath it. Almost a squally wind. Might just blow over quickly enough. Tea at 3:10. Remember, during this game, everything a little bit earlier than would normally be the case for a first-class fixture in England. Still in June, aren't we? In goes Kishore, bowls down the wicket, goes Kohli, gets to the pitch of the ball, but doesn't try and loft it straight, just punches it away, guides it away through the gap at mid-off down to Sikandar at long off, takes one.
Might be coming off soon. It's getting a little bit heavier.
They're eyeing the sky, the umpires at the moment. We could be having an early tea, you never quite know. Let's see what happens. Kishore into the watchful Pujara, who is waiting for that one, nibbling it around the corner as it comes on, perhaps with the arm. Again, the hands go to the head for Sai Kishore. Had he not got the bat on that, he would have been shouting for sure, but he did. He knew exactly what he was doing. And
it would have been turned down because it was too high and going down leg.
Might feel he'd almost got the batsman in a spot of bother, at least. Kishore is in, bowls. Kohli is driving pleasantly past the diving Evans this time. Can't slow things down with his right hand, but it is just the one nonetheless, because certainly didn't put his full weight into the shot and made sure he got on top of it. Sikandar ran to his left a few yards.
Played Sai Kishore very well through the offside. Kohli not looking to try and whip the ball through mid-wicket as yet.
In he comes, bowls. Pujara is waiting in his crease and blocking it back, leaning forward to Kishore. There'll be a huge... If you think you've heard a lot of the drums, you wait till Kohli goes past 50. I think there'll be a few then. Kishore is stepping in and bowling to Pujara, who's turning the face of the bat on that one as he leans forward and pushes it out to Will Davis, who is at straightish mid-wicket, trying to cover both that and sort of mid-on. Shaw bowls. Pujara leans forward, head right over the ball, pushes it back up the pitch towards Kishore, who ignores the ball, as does Kohli, and it's Davis who steps in to pick it up. End of the over. A few more spots of rain on the commentary box window, but certainly not hard enough at the moment for them to consider coming off, but it might get worse.
There's a bit of what are we doing from Navdeep Saini, bit of a sort of both arms out, but umpires Davis and Warren haven't conferred at any point in the last few minutes.
Is it not Harris?
Harris. Apologies. Where did I get Anthony Davis from?
Do it all the time. Will Davis? I don't know.
Possibly. Loud shouts as Saini comes into Kohli, 2 away from 50, pushes this to cover, and there is no run. I just Googled it, and it's not someone I've ever actually heard of, so just surnames floating around in my head. Anthony Harris standing at the pavilion end. Russell Warren standing at the Bennett. 2 slips, Gully cover mid-on Nagarkoti, who's warming up. 2 mid-wickets, not a bad position for Kohli, and a long leg. Saini in to Kohli, who pushes, and that will be 50. Skews off the outer part of the bat, but very well controlled. Pujara wanted to run 2. Kohli knew it was going for 4, and that 4 takes him to 50. 52 off 69 balls for the former Indian captain, with 5 4s and a 6 for Virat Kohli. The Cricinfo scorecard is a little bit behind, so I'm trying to work out exactly how many, but it was a lovely innings thus far from Virat Kohli, in more or less full control throughout. Very good through the offside in particular. India 246 for 6. Crowd are going to go well to find some gears, given the reaction to Virat Kohli's 50. He pushes this into the offside. There is no run. I'm sure they've got him. Call and response from the crowd. A few umbrellas up actually going around the ground for those not under cover. A few raincoats going on, but it looks like they are going to try and stay out there as long as they possibly can, which is good. Padded up below us, but still in his India training top, blue training top.
91,000 watching on the stream at the moment.
It's Ravindra Jadeja, actually, who must have either just come back from or is going for a net, because he's already batted, made a duck. Very good delivery from Navdeep Saini, who's bowling now to Virat Kohli, who's trying to drive through cover a little bit. Again, sort of the angle of the bat wasn't quite what he wanted it to be. He was trying to get that squarer. Again, he practices the shot again early on the stroke. It goes into the offside for no run. He's playing that shot with a slightly diagonal bat. It's a Virat Kohli trademark. It's a great strength of his. Does occasionally get him out. He practices that shot using the bottom hand to try and get it into the gap, which is left there by Sam Evans. It's just moved a little bit closer to point now. There is a gap to be found between him and Sai Kishore at backward point, particularly given that Sai Kishore's left-handed, and so he'll be going to his wrong side. This one goes straight to Sai Kishore at backward point, and there is no run. You can see actually how well drilled both Leicestershire and India are in the field. Every time the ball goes to a fielder, the fielder who would be in position to back up comes running and goes running to try and cut it off. It's all automatic. Good to see Nagarkoti doing some warming up exercises, yeah. some kicks, some good hamstring flexibility he's showing, and then going through his action. Jadeja, 2 bats, is going to go and have a net, accompanied by some throwdown specialists and somebody carrying a bag of balls. This is punched firmly by Kohli, but straight to Evans. Couldn't have picked him out more if he'd tried. End of the over. 246 for 6.
Nagarkoti, well, it was a brief warm-up, and that's apparently all that's necessary. He's taking his sweater off, and he's going to replace Sai Kishore at the Bennett end of the Upton Steel County Ground, Grace Road. He scrapes at the crease, which he'd overseen the tamping down thereof, and he seems to have scraped it all out again now. So, well, whether it's rendered futile, all the groundsman's work there, I don't know, but he's clearly happier with a little bit looser ground where his foot lands on the crease. Evans, Leicestershire's captain in this game, directing traffic out there.
Young man from Rajasthan, still just 22 years of age.
He's wearing a Leicestershire shirt, as the India Party net bowlers are in the game. And it's in marked contrast, those sort of bluey whites, very white trousers, and sort of creamy coloured Leicestershire top. Pauses at the stop of his run, runs away and bowls, tucks up Cheteshwar Pujara a little bit with a delivery that comes back in towards the right-hander, who rehearses the defensive shot, having played it back down the wicket towards Nagarkoti. He remains on 15. Not so little, but the shower cloud has sort of broken up rather, and it looks like we're going to get safely through until tea, and hopefully well beyond. Nagarkoti, feet both together, almost standing to attention at the start of his run, comes in and bowls onto the legs of Pujara, flicked away beautifully, wristily, down towards wide long leg. No chance at all for Saini down here, Navdeep Saini, to run around to his left, crosses the ropes around about 5 yards away from him for 4. Pujara moves on to 19, continues to score almost totally, not just predominantly, almost totally on the leg side.
I think we've had one scoring shot through the offside. The bowling has been fairly straight at him, but he's mostly left everything outside off stump, apart from one that was very short. He's a good cutter of the ball, not a huge driver of a ball. It's funny you mentioned standing to attention. Kamlesh Nagarkoti's dad was a non-commissioned officer in the army.
There you go. Stands to attention, then he runs in and bowls. Squared up slightly there is Pujara. The throw comes in, and we are going to have an overthrow. Kohli, in fact, more than one. Kohli is going to turn for the second overthrow. So a 3 to Pujara in the end. The throw, I think, was from Evans running in from the covers. Missed the stumps, and Wood couldn't get across to cover, had to call in Saini to go in pursuit, running around from long leg to deep backward square, by which time 3 had been completed instead of 1. But he was rather squared up a little bit.
Yeah,
there, Pujara.
Just using those low hands to guide it out to scoring shot on both the off and leg side simultaneously.
Yeah, good effort. Yes, in goes Nagarkoti, and he's looking for the Yorker again, and Kohli is digging it out. Puff of dust as he plays it hard down into the pitch on the on side. Puff of dust possibly came from his feet in the as he moved them quickly there. Kicks away some of the dust. He remains on 52. 253 for 6. The partnership 50 now, actually, with those overthrows for the 7th wicket. Missed by the crowd, otherwise I'm sure would have got a drum or 2.
It wasn't really announced, was it?
Wasn't really. You have to be watching the scoreboard. Goes Nagarkoti and bowls very full outside off stump, guided by Kohli down towards wide third man. Roman Walker runs around from a sort of backward point down towards wide third man and feels Kohli content with a single. It's been for the most part, fairly restrained innings by Virat Kohli. Last time I said that, he came down the wicket and smashed the spinner back over his head for 6. But we'll see. He's leaning on his bat at the moment.
It'd be an effort to do that to Nagarkoti.
I'd be impressed. I'd be impressed if he did, for sure. But it's Cheteshwar Pujara, who's going to be on strike to the last ball of the over, assuming it's legitimate. In he comes and bowls, clipped in the air, just short of mid-wicket. Wood got down, but it bounced maybe 6 inches, maybe a foot short of him at mid-wicket. Minimal reaction all around, other than Bates running around to proffer a glove for a low 5, I believe they're called these days. End of the over, 254 for 6.
It's that great break of the wrist that Pujara has. We've seen it on a couple of occasions in that over, just to whip it finer or more sort of behind square or square than he might be. Slightly miscontrolled on that last occasion.
Scott Earle is watching us in Bangkok. He says, lovely to be able to watch in the evenings. Hello, Scott.
Glad you're with us from Bangkok. Saika Shaw is going to come back into the attack at the pavilion end. Change of ends for him. Change of ends, as it were, because he's bowled from this end earlier, then was at the Bennett, and now he's back at the pavilion end. Kohli punches to mid-wicket, and there is no run. Deep square leg, well, deep mid-wicket, back quite square, and Kohli goes back and clips again to Will Davis. That ball must have hit a bobble or something, because he was wringing his hand as he fielded that. He's still in a little bit of pain, and there is no run. As the bell strikes 3, this one is clipped down the ground for 1. Not actually close enough to a church to hear a bell, alas.
No. I can't think of any. It's not sort of like Worcester or somewhere like that, where you don't just hear the bells for the hour, you hear it for the offices of the cathedral.
I do love hearing a church bell. I'm not a religious person at all, but I do love hearing a church bell or a mosque call near a cricket ground.
Oh, he may have got back, you know. I think Bates juggled that. Oh, he's given caught behind.
Could have been out twice there, Cheteshwar Pujara. So Saika Shaw came in, and Pujara came down the track. That's a lovely bit of work from Saika Shaw. Just held it back a little bit. It dipped on him and bounced, and Bates again has done well behind the stumps. A little bit of a juggle maybe, but Pujara trying to get back and couldn't, and is stumped by Sam Bates off the bowling of Saika Shaw. 22 off 53 deliveries.
I'm pretty sure he gave him caught behind.
For Cheteshwar Pujara, 3 4s and no 6s. We'll just wait to see that. Yeah, caught behind, a little edge on it, but would have been stumped had he not got a bat on it. It was a good catch, because that bounced a little bit and flew off the outer edge of the bat. Good work by Bates, who's having a good time of it behind the stumps. Did well with the run out, and did well with that catch. And Ravindra Jadeja is going to come back out and bat for the 2nd time in the innings.
I love that from Pujara. He must have known he edged it, but he still flung himself back to try and get his bat back down in his crease. And he might just have made it, because he did juggle with it, Bates, who was just completing the double just in case.
Batters don't always know that they've edged it, as DRS has proven repeatedly.
Well, I suspect quite a few do. I remember once someone was hitting the cover off it, and then only the bowler started to appeal. Nobody else appealed, but...
Hello, Stuart Broad, if you're listening.
Yeah, they've been showing that a few times, haven't they, in recent days?
Slight sort of Mandela effect on that one, because it did actually hit the wicket-keeper's gloves before going to slip on that occasion.
I hasten to add that I walked in the end because I was too embarrassed. I could almost hear the echo. I couldn't understand.
I tend to be out in more emphatic ways than... so emphatic a way that it doesn't really matter. There's not much you can do when you spoon a ball to mid-on.
That was deserved by Kishore. I've really enjoyed his bowling, and
yeah, he's
nice to see him take a wicket.
Got a lovely action at Saika Shaw, very controlled action. He's good at the crease, he's got a good delivery stride, and that was smartly done by both Saika Shaw, getting a world-class player of spin out, and good work by Bates. Jadeja, who's made a duck in today already, such is the nature of a tour game, and made 13 only in the first innings, is now coming out for his 3rd innings in India's 2nd, as Saika Shaw is in short and punched by his fellow left-arm spinner Ravindra Jadeja, and smartly stopped by the fielder at cover, Will Davis, diving to his left. Leicestershire continuing to be round the wicket to the left-hander, likes to go mid-wicket off the spinners. That's short and punched, and that'll be 4. A little bit too short from Leicestershire. The first one he's dragged down for a while. A little bit of the opening of the face, and Ravindra Jadeja today is 4 for 1.
One of the spectators hanging on to the ball for an unconscionably long time there. It just bobbled up over the rope to him, and the stewards, about 3 of them, converged on him as he was hanging on to it, and in the end,
is this your ball,
he underarmed it back.
It's not baseball. You don't get to keep the ball when it's hit into the crowd.
No, indeed.
I don't think Leicestershire can afford that many balls. They're quite expensive, Duke's balls.
I saw that. Was it 120 goblins each?
Proper ones,
something
yeah.
Like
when
that.
As Gavin Griffiths comes on as a sub fielder, not quite sure who's gone off. Sam Woods going off. Yeah. In that first absurd one-day international between the Netherlands and England in Amstelveen, when England made 498, it was estimated that the Dutch cricket board, the KNCB, had lost €1,000 worth of balls.
I hope they got compensated. Nagrikoti continues. No, he doesn't, because umpire Warren's hand goes out. Virat Kohli looks down here because Leicestershire were 1 short in the field, so Wood, having gone off, comes running back, and actually Bates is literally counting as he goes around. So Wood is back on at long leg, wondering what on earth was going on out there. Nagrikoti is in and bowling outside off stump to Virat Kohli, lets it go through, and there's no run. Brunty is enjoying the sound of the drums and considering buying a doll for Stench and Benno to replace the Vuvuzela that is well, you heard it tooted on the first day. I think. It was here, wasn't it?
It's rather been drowned out by some horns and drums. You'll have to explain Stench and Benno. I've seen the flag out there in the Upton Steel stand, but for non-locals.
Nicknames for regulars
right.
out there. I I don't really want to inquire as to why he acquired that particular
Benno
name.
is probably...
Benno's okay. I'm sure that's to do with the name, but Stench? In goes Nagrikoti and bowls on the off stump to Kohli, who stays on the back foot and blocks it out into the offside.
A friend and someone I used to commentate with, Paul Howarth, is nicknamed Grubby. Once asked, always telling him, why are you called Grubby? Why are you called Grubby? He told me, and I really wished I hadn't asked.
Okay. We won't ask you to share the reason.
No,
then.
That one's not coming out in public.
Nagrikoti is in and bowling again, slightly short of a length. It's either one thing or the other with him a little bit, and up on his toes. Virat Kohli just turns the face of the bat slightly as he blocks that one back down the pitch. And there's no run, of course. How are we doing for time? 3 minutes until tea, so we should have, I would anticipate, another Kishore over from this pavilion end.
If he's really quick, he might be able to sneak one through in a minute and a half and get us one more. Jadeja-like.
Nagrikoti is not hurrying until he gets into his run and bowls full-ish on the legs of Kohli, worked out towards deep mid-wicket. Jerry Everson is sprinting after the ball, gets his throw away, but there were always going to be 3. Well, there was always going to be 3. Decent throw from the Nottsman. Kohli moves on to 57 to 62 for 7. I would imagine a few of the Leicester supporters know why Stench is so named, but only tweet me or message me if you consider that I would wish to know why.
Well, we might find out why, but we might not read it. We reserve the right not to read it out.
So a left-hander for Nagrikoti to bowl at now in the form of Ravindra Jadeja. In he comes, bowls, slightly outside off stump, slightly short of a length, up on his toes Jadeja, not timing the attempted cut away through the offside. Thick bottom edge, bounces down towards Kishore, who's fielding at that short third man stroke backward point position, which has been effective actually.
He is a good fielder. He and Nagarkoti both very athletic, quick movers to the ball.
Just the two slips as Nagarkoti comes in and bowls outside off stump. It's fuller this time, but again, Jadeja not timing the shot this time in an attempt to drive away through the offside. Picks out Abi Sekande in the covers. Umpire Harris wanders in, it being the end of the over. He didn't bother to move across to square leg. He stayed at point for the left-hander. 15:09. So we are going to get just the one more over. Even Kishore will do well to squeeze through an over in less than a minute.
Step, bowl, step, bowl, step, bowl. I don't think you'd struggle to do that with a tennis ball on the beach, I think. Tom Latham, by the way, has gone to 50 in New Zealand. Vice-captain, his first 50 in 9 innings since his double 100 in Christchurch earlier this year. New Zealand 92 for 1, leading by 61. Normality has reassumed at Headingley. As Sai Kishore is in last over rather this session. Virat Kohli drives. He's picked out extra cover a few times. Evans on this side doing the fielding. There is no run. Long off is right back on the rope. Sam Wood, deep mid wicket, quite square, is back on the rope as well. We've got a slip. And as Sai Kishore is into Virat Kohli. Not someone who uses his feet that often. Certainly not as much as Cheteshwar Pujara. Turns this into the onside. There is no run. When he comes down, he usually comes down with attacking intent, as we saw earlier. That 6 that he hit over long on Sai Kishore the last time that he was bowling from this end. That's punched very firmly, and a slightly over-enthusiastic bit of fielding from Will Davis from mid-wicket, given that neither Kohli nor Jadeja were thinking of a run. He dived, underarmed the ball at the stumps, missed, and they get an overthrow. Kohli and Jadeja hadn't had time to go anywhere by the time he picked that up. Very good impression of Jolty Rhodes, though, physically. Jadeja now on strike. So hitting against the wind if he wants to go leg side and to the longer side of the ground. Sai Kishore into Jadeja, who turns this leg side, but for a single, very comfortable to Evans at mid-wicket. Slightly bobbly throw that is backed up by, I think that's Louis Kimber at slip. It was a very, very good bit of work by Bates to adjust to the flashing top edge off the drive from Pujara in Sai Kishore's last over, and then whipped off the bails as well for good measure. 2 balls left in a very entertaining session, mostly dominated by Virat Kohli, who pushes to cover. There is no run. He's on 58 off 86 deliveries. The former India captain. I keep saying that because I keep trying to get myself used to it after so long at the helm. 4 4s and 2 6s for him. Cheteshwar Pujara. Shalor Thakur dismissed in this session. And the last ball of the session is just pushed to point for no run. And that'll be kettles on and bails off as the umpire just sends them gently to the floor. Anthony Harris doing the needful. And that is tea on day 3 of this tour match between India and Leicestershire at Grace Road. India 203 for 6 in their second innings, leading by 205 after the first innings scores were very even. Only 2 players past 50 so far. The wicket keepers, both for India, KS Bharat and Rishabh Pant, or the Panthers batting for Leicestershire. In fact, now Virat Kohli has joined them on 50. He goes off 58 not out. Ravindra Jadeja batting for the second time today goes off on 5 not out. The drums and the cheers accompany them off the field. Leicestershire led off, sort of, by Sam Evans. I don't think it's as ceremonial as all that. And we'll take a moment to get a beverage of our choice. You go get a beverage of yours and join us again in about 12 minutes.
some club shortless tea time, located at that end of the ground.
wearing that sort of
Hello again from the Uptonsteel County Ground, Grace Road in Leicester, for the final session on the third day of the tour game between India and Leicestershire. Stream and ball-by-ball commentary brought to you by the Leicestershire County Cricket Club. India about to resume in their second innings, 264 for 7. Virat Kohli 58 not out. Ravindra Jadeja batting for the second time today is 5 not out. Applause greets the arrival of Messrs Jadeja and Kohli, of course, from the many India supporters who have been here in the ground today. Nakul Pandey and Richard Ray, your commentators for this session and for the 3 days thus far. The Leicestershire players led out a mixed group with 1, 2, 3 this time. India players among them. I think it's just the 3.
Jasprit Bumrah, I can see there, with who seems to be marching towards the Bennett end, perhaps, is going to bowl immediately.
Yeah.
And Kamlesh Nagar Koti, who is the shortish figure, also wearing the tubey grip on the arms, the young fast bowler from Rajasthan, and
Sai Kishore's still out there, isn't he? Yeah.
Sai Kishore, who has taken the last wicket before that. Cheteshwar Pujara was also of his bowling that the run at Shreyas Iyer was affected. He's going to be at sort of deep square leg.
VK Kelly is out there, one of the Leicestershire Academy sort of graduates. He's at first slip. It's been, as I say, a changing cast in the Leicestershire side throughout the game thus far. A few hands in pockets out there because the breeze here in the East Midlands has got up. There's a few dark clouds around now. I can see a shower away to the southeast again, but fingers crossed it is blown past the ground. We did have a slight delay at the very start of play this morning, but only for sort of about 12-14 minutes, and that is all we have lost. We've been lucky in that respect. The crowd has thoroughly enjoyed their day. They've seen some very fine batting and some very fine bowling as well. High quality in both cases. Jasprit Bumrah has yet to pick up a wicket in this second innings for Leicestershire. 8 overs, 2 maidens, none for 16, and he's going to be bowling around the wicket to his India teammate Ravindra Jadeja with 3 slips, their whites, or their creams if you like, being buffeted in the wind. Jadeja around the wicket is in, and beg your pardon, Bumrah is around the wicket and in, and bowls to Jadeja, who lets it go through outside off stump. And by Bumrah standards, that was a bit of a loosener. It was a fairly, not innocuous, but a fairly gentle delivery, probably something like 80 mph, as opposed to his normal sort of 87, 88, even 90 mph
Doesn't
stuff.
quite have the spit off the wicket that he sometimes has, Jasprit Bumrah.
Wind heavy in the effects mic. I'll turn it down a bit. He comes in and bowls to Jadeja, who takes his bottom hand off the bat as he pushes that one around the corner, down towards deep backwards square, running in from long leg. Abi Sekande feels. Jadeja takes his single, brings Kohli down on strike. Kohli's innings now probably represents the main interest for most of the India supporting cricket lovers in the ground at the moment, and possibly on the stream as well.
Right, Sharma is carded to bat next, but we saw him just go off for a net now. So Mohammad Shami and Umesh Yadav, the other two India players.
Back over the wicket goes Bumrah and bowls down the leg side to Virat Kohli. It was pretty wide, but it's going to be signalled leg byes, it looks like, by umpire Warren. No, bye. He sort of put his right hand out as though he was going to raise his right knee. I thought hadn't hit anything. It was wide and went wider. Bates diving away to his left could only parry the ball, and the bye is taken to 66 for 7.
Very full, started leg side and just kept on swinging leg sideier. Not an easy take at all for Bates low down.
It's been a great experience for him these last few days, or most of the game anyway. Round the wicket goes Bumrah and bowls. Rain starts to fall. It's left by Jadeja.
Rain was spitting before tea. It stopped over tea and it started spitting again. It's got its timings wrong.
He's blowing in rather, but
no, I think
it won't be for long, if at all.
I think I've just seen the square leg umpire signalling towards the ground staff to get ready. Anthony Harris is waving in that general direction.
Bumrah bowling in his sleeveless sweater at the moment is in and bowls. Jadeja is forward, almost plays on there to the amusement of Jasprit Bumrah. Played it down into the ground. It bounced up into the air and actually sort of went backwards and not very far in the end from the off stump.
That could easily have snuck through. It's one of those where the delivery's got a bit more juice on it than the defensive stroke was ready for. So this sometimes from Bumrah bursts through the defensive shot.
Umpire Harris still has been looking in that direction of the ground staff. He can't quite attract their attention at the moment.
Tractor has been summoned. Seems to attach itself to the covers.
Well, with the wind such as it is behind him, hurries Jadeja on the back foot with a delivery that swings back in towards his stumps a little bit. Stays on the back foot, keeps it out, back down the pitch it goes. End of the over. 6 to Jadeja and 58 to Kohli. And are we going to see Joey Everson have a bowl? I had a chat to him yesterday morning, and he said he kind of felt okay now and may have a little bowl in the second innings. Or is it going to be Roman? Big Roman.
It's Roman Walker.
It's Big Roman.
Roman Walker's had a pretty good day. He hasn't been as good in the second innings. 10 overs, none for 33. He was a little bit loose at times yesterday. A little bit better this morning, but it took 5 wickets, of course, for just 24 in the first innings, dismissing both Virat Kohli and Ravindra Jadeja. He's in from the pavilion and green number 49 on his back, bowling to Virat Kohli, who spikes him away through cover first ball, but a minimally forceful spank, and it'll just be 2 runs as Nagarkoti chases this back towards the cover fence. I thought for a second that was going to rocket into the extra cover fence, but
it kind of shouldn't. It took a weird bounce somewhere on one of those used pitches and it sort of hopped into the air. So whether it, I don't know, that was very strange.
Just to lean into the drive from Virat Kohli. Moves to 60. 3 slips backward point cover mid-off. Mid-on, mid-wicket and long leg as it is back of a length, and Kohli jumping and defending that into the offside, and there is no run. It's very hard to work out on the stream exactly why that didn't go for 4, that last drive. A bit of a bobble. It's not a bad outfield by any means, but it is very dry and a bit rough in places. Particularly square of the wicket where those practice wickets are. As Walker is in, Kohli allowing this one to pass, and it goes flying over the top of off stump through to the keeper Bates. See down below us Rahul Dravid and Paul Nixon, the head coaches of these respective sides, having a good chat. They exchanged numbers earlier, so Rahul Dravid and Paul Nixon can send each other the latest WhatsApp memes.
I hope Rahul Dravid was passing on a few useful numbers to Paul Nixon.
As Walker is into Kohli, who's turning this into the leg side. There is no run. If Paul Nixon is anything like as communicative, shall we say, a texter as he is, as he was a presence behind the stumps, and I think Rahul Dravid may regret that.
Yes, he likes a text. Does Paul?
One of the great characters of sort of mid-2000s and county cricket. I sort of really enjoy Paul Nixon's work behind the stumps. As Kohli defends this into the offside, and they take a quick single, well run by lightning quick Jadeja and Kohli. Very good understanding between the two of them, of course, having back together so often. And once those two start running, it's very difficult to catch them napping. Nagakoti's gone down to long leg for Jadeja. Saini has now come back onto the field. He's there at mid-on. Sorry, that is Saika Shore, taller, another very tall figure. Walker in, outside off stump. Jadeja bodily outside off stump, pushing to Sakande at mid-off. There is no run. Jadeja on 6, Kohli on 61, India 269 for 7.
New Zealand continue to go nicely at Headingley, 125 for 1. Now, a few more raindrops on the window. Hopefully that's all it is. That sort of shower is going away to the east, passing the ground on the east, curiously.
And
raining
it's
quite hard now.
It's
actually
raining diagonally quite hard now.
Blown in now. I think we will have a little break. So, just the 2 overs post tea. The player's actually running off, so it is raining quite hard, and we may have to close the window, save the effects mic from cruel and unusual punishment. Say, I don't think it'll be too long as that shower. I can see the main part of it is still away where the weather is coming from. So, well, 269 for 7. Jadeja has 6. Virat Kohli has 61. He is... Oh, hang on. Has it stopped already? Is Kohli wandering back out there? The players have stopped and turned. Now, I'm looking into the trees. I can see not very much, actually. And we're all going... Well, they're turning around. So much for that little shower. It is passing to the east. And hurrah! We're not going to lose too much. Those players who went running off are being summoned back by Sam Evans, the Leicestershire captain. Whether they made it up the stairs to the pavilion, 1 or 2 sheepish grins. Louis Kimber, Will Davis, Sam Bates re-emerge. VK Kelly as well. And we're going to crack on.
It's interesting there that Kohli and Jadeja didn't really want to go off. Actually, I don't think either of them actually made it off the field before they were called back on. Neither did Jasprit Bumrah. The weather stopped in its run-up.
Unless they sort of somehow contrive another innings tomorrow or later on if they're dismissed, then this is the last innings, isn't it, before the test match for both of them. Obviously have a few nets, I'm sure. But the last sort of innings in anger, so to speak. Bumrah is in, bowls to Kohli, who defends. A delivery from almost middle stump out into the onside. Picked up there by Kamlesh Nagrakoti.
Only the one wicket falling to a Leicestershire bowler in this innings. Hanuman Vihari, scratchy in both innings, caught behind the bowling of Will Davis, but that was really set up by Saini and Bumrah, bowling extremely well at Vihari this morning. Shreyas Iyer run out by two Leicestershire players, Vijay Kelly and keeper Sam Bates.
Well, bowls full, clipped beautifully away off leg stump by Virat Kohli out to the deep mid-wicket boundary. He's going to have to run his runs. Jadeja, who sort of had strolled, as a consequence, almost overtaken by Kohli. They almost arrived at that far at this near end at the same time. Jadeja absolutely almost walked that first, as though he assumed it was going to go all the way. It didn't, so they only picked up 2 when really 3 would have been an absolute minimum.
Certainly for these two, that was unusually casual from Jadeja. It's just been pointed out to me that Jateshwar Pujara has actually batted for both teams in this innings, in this match.
Yes, he has, yeah. Made more runs for India than for Leicestershire. In goes Bumrah and bowls just outside off stump, almost on off stump, and on the back foot waiting for it. Kohli with a slightly angled bat deflects it down into the offside. There is no run.
Thank you, Abhishek Chopra, for that. A friend of mine. Good follow on Twitter if you want like your cricket history. And he and someone else were telling me about some happenings when India played here in 2007. Plenty of wickets for Ranadeb Bose, who was a Ranji Trophy stalwart, who took 6 wickets in the match, including a 5-for in the first innings, but didn't end up playing a game on the tour and never played for India.
Bumrah is in, bowled slightly short this time, up on his toes, cracked away by Kohli to the point boundary. Young man out there leaning for the ball, leaping into the air with joy, bouncing around out there. Calmly put away for 4, calmly and utterly, well, definitively almost, complete certainty about the shot, just up on his toes, and didn't again try and overhit it. Steered it away through point for 4. Sun comes back out.
So it's really the only... it's where Bumrah does tend to bowl when he does bowl loose deliveries, is outside off stump. Kohli's very good off the back foot through the point region.
Bumrah is in, bowls, same place. Oh, caught! Did he catch it? Yes, he did. Kohli steering it into the offside and didn't quite get on top of it this time. He fielded there at that sort of deepish backward gully position. Sakande managed to get his hands underneath it, and well, Virat Kohli's impressive knock comes to an end on 67, as we've been saying, or I've been saying. He has looked in pretty good shape, but as Nakul's pointed out, he's often looked in pretty good shape in recent years, but hasn't quite managed to go on and make it fully count. 67, pretty good effort from him, and I'm sure he will be looking to do that at Edgbaston. 275 for 8. Very
fine catch by Aberdeen Sakande. He's not had a great game, to be honest, but that was a pretty good catch. It flew off the outer part of the bat and could easily have just flown past her over, but Sakande getting off the ground and going to his left, got 2 hands to it and took the catch. So Jasprit Bumrah does have his first wicket, and we've now got 2 batters at the crease who've batting for the second time today. Shreyas Iyer, who made a very pleasant 30 before being run out superbly from short leg by Vijay Kelly off the bowling of Saika Shaw, is going to come out and bat. Shreyas Iyer has now batted at 4 and number 10 in this innings, having batted at 5 in the first.
A few Leicestershire batsmen be calling on this rule to be introduced for championship games.
That really was a very good catch by Sakande.
It was. It was obscured by the pillar from where I was sitting in the commentary box, but seeing the replay, nice for him to have made a contribution. Bumrah is in to Iyer, who is on the back foot defending. Delivery on off stump back up the pitch to Jasprit Bumrah. End of the over. His first wicket of the innings for Jasprit. And a good one, Virat Kohli.
Yeah, it wasn't a vintage Bumrah delivery. It wasn't quite as short and wide as the one that was crashed away for 4, but still outside off stump. Kohli had a thrash at it. Thrash is probably a little bit harsh. Had a drive off the back foot at it, and it was very well caught. Virat Kohli gone for 67 in the second innings of 98 balls, 5 fours and 2 sixes. One absolutely extraordinary uppercut off Bumrah, and one hit off Sai Kishore over long on. Walker in outside off stump. Jadeja leaves through to the keeper. There is no run.
Sort of anticipating seeing a few people leave now. Virat Kohli's got out, but still plenty to watch.
Plenty to watch, plenty to eat, and plenty to drink, whether that's alcoholic or non. Why would you leave?
Is Ayer starting on his old score as well? He seems to have been given 30 to start with.
He has. That's that's odd. And his odd number of balls as well. That's a little
He's
odd.
decided, yeah, this is a yeah.
This is it's driven out by Jadeja, beaten on the inside edge by Roman Walker. There is no run. Well, the scorecard still has Just Breathe Bumrah up the electronic scoreboard, but just had a few issues, not necessarily surprisingly, with the rotating cast of characters. That we got. Oh, there we go. Shreyas Iyer has now been demoted back to 0 off 0.
It remembered,
0 off 1.
perhaps. It remembered. It all needed sort of changing.
Imagine the panic in the whoever's operating that. Scoring's not as easy as scorers make it look. As Walker's in to Jadeja, leaving again outside off stump through to the keeper. There is no run. Watching idly watching some cricket highlights on my phone yesterday. Courtney Walsh bowling a 17 ball over with many no balls. Absolute nightmare in a scorebook with pen and paper. How do you fit all those into that little box? All that infamous over that poor Scott Boswell bowled in that cup final. As Walker is in again outside off stump, and again left by Jadeja, not having a go at any of these outside off stump as Walker's trying to angle the ball across him. Brilliant interview that Nick Friend did in the Cricketer with Scott Boswell, the poor Durham man, wasn't it? Scott Boswell, or I got that wrong, who bowled a long and yippy over
For Leicestershire.
Oh, it was for Leicestershire, wasn't it, against Somerset, yes. Long and yippy and really hard to watch over in a final at Lord's. It's outside off stump and left alone through to the keeper. There is no run, but it's a lovely sympathetic piece of cricket interviewing by Nick Friend. Sort of one of those overs that starts funny and then gets increasingly harder to watch.
Especially a final as well. On telly, which was a big thing in those days.
Yes, the One Day Cup final was a real highlight of the cricketing year. 2 slips and a 4th slip in. Well, no, 4th slip has just wandered back to 3rd. This time Jadeja is made to play and it's pushed to mid-on, and there is no run. Good over from Roman Walker to Ravindra Jadeja. A maiden, I think. 275 for 8, India. Although the 8 is,
I was going to say,
slightly strange, given that Jadeja and Iyer are both back out there.
How many of the party will bat remains to be seen, I suspect, until the end of play, one way or another. Whether they are all out or 10 down or 11 down.
The only one who really could use a bat, I guess, is Rohit Sharma, who batted okay in the first innings, but was then again, actually, Abhidin Sakande taking that catch, an easier catch, top edging a pull right up in the air off Roman Walker. I suppose Shubman Gill could come out and have a bat as well. He was very pleasant before he got out for 38.
Bumrah continues from the Bennett end, is in, bowling onto the legs of Ayer, who clips him away off his legs down towards long legs. Sam Wood can't gather the ball cleanly. It bounces down towards him at a fair old rate of knots. Manages to grab it at the second attempt and get his throw away, and it is just a single. He comes running in, then called in because it'll be the left-handed Jadeja on strike, of course. Not quite general post in the outfield. A few changes. He runs up to backward point because Bumrah was also going to go around the wicket to the left-hander. Mid-off, mid-on, extra cover, mid-wicket and long leg, as well as the 3 slips. Goes in and bowls outside off stump, but coming back in slightly short of a length. Jadeja up on his toes, getting in position to crack it away. He was rather cramped for room as he tried to do so. Inside edge, sort of thick inside edge down into the ground. Favouring orange for his accessories. Ravinder Jadeja, in terms of the little orange parts on his glove and his bat handle, and on the back of his pads, actually, the sort of Velcro bits, if they are still Velcro. The fastenings, there's an element of orange about them. In comes Bumrah and bowls to him, outside off stump. A little bit wide, a little bit of away movement, says Jadeja. Might just have straightened a fraction off the seam. The ball is now 72.5 overs old, though.
He's reversing at this stage, yeah. I don't know if many people expected we were going to get to a second new ball in this match. Not something you tend to see in tour games.
Past umpire Warren and bowls again outside off stump. Again, a very safe leave for Jadeja. He does leave, lets it go through into the gloves of Sam Bates. Leicestershire bowlers will be conscious, perhaps, now of the presence of Paul Nixon.
It's not someone who usually goes unannounced.
No, but kind of, you know what I mean in terms of selections going forward. Yes, I mean they'll be aware that you can't not be aware that he's around. That's for sure. But it might just sort of, I'm sure everybody's trying their hardest anyway. In goes Bumrah and bowls. Hurries Jadeja, just a fraction, but he's very much equal to it. Plays a very neat and correct forward press defensive shot out into the offside. Times it nicely as well.